I've just learned that even if I make a complete fool of myself, just do it. Just do it, because you'll look back and you've learned so much and you'll eventually get that success.
Behind every creative person or small business is a great story waiting to be told.
And we are here to tell them.
I'm Shane, aspiring author and man behind I-Endeavour.
I'm Hannah, semi-abstract artist and woman behind Sarah Studio. And this is the
I-Endeavour podcast.
Hi, and welcome back to the I-Endeavour podcast. Today is episode 5 and we're here with Laura from So LoveLee. Yay! Welcome!
Hello!
So, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what it is that you create?
Okay, so like Hannah was saying, my name is Laura. I'm from Kilkenny and I created last year a brand called So LoveLee, which is all about empowering women and helping people to believe in themselves through affirmations and things like that. And in this current moment, I'm super nervous because it's my first ever podcast. So,
Yay!
yeah, about me.
Don't be nervous. It's fine.
It's fine. And I'm modelling some of Laura's clothes tonight. So I've got the hoodie on that says "Know your worth," and then add tax, because I thought that was so apt for like my business, because I'm not financially minded at all, and I have to rely on Shane. So I'm like, add the tax. And I love it. It's super cozy and lovely.
Wearing another one. Well, I've showed off. Be kind.
Be
so
kind.
To see it, yeah.
I nearly got that one as well, and the blue version of that one I loved as well. Anyway,
So where did it all begin? Like, where did the inspiration to start So LoveLee come from?
So it's funny because I've always kind of had an inkling that I wanted to do something of my own, but I just never knew what it was. And I remember being in school and I'd always mess with my friends and things, saying, oh, when, I have my own perfume business. Oh, no, I'm going to have like a shoe brand. Oh, no, I'm going to have this, that, or whatever. And I think I was probably a little bit inspired by my dad in a way, because he's an entrepreneur. And he ran his own 2 businesses and things like that for years and years. So I think I always saw that. It was always just something in my mind. I wanted to go out and branch out on my own. But then I remember finishing up college and first of all, I thought I wanted to do childcare. And I did a year of it and realized it just wasn't for me. So I have a cert in childcare, and then I went and I did a business degree, and thinking I would finally figure out where my niche was, and finished up. And I just remember going, I have no idea. So I just ended up in the family business. And I remember someone said, why did you even bother going to college? Or you just ended up here anyway. And I was like, no, I know I want to do something of my own. I just don't know what it is yet. I haven't figured it out. And I remember for so long. And then I actually remember being so down about it. It would actually I would get so in my head going, I know this isn't what I want, where I want to be or what I want to do. But I also don't know what it is that I want to build and create. And then, unfortunately, my dad got sick and the business had to close after 30 years. And our entire family worked in the business. And so, it was literally, the business closed, doors had to shut. And it's like, okay, great. Where does my income come from next? And I always, at this point, I had been writing out ideas and things like, oh, what would I want to do? What I want to be, I knew I wanted to be something that would encourage people and empower women and things like that. But initially, my initial thought was I wanted to have because I always had this idea, I wanted a bag range and things like that. I was like, what if I put on the lining of the bags, affirmations? So when women open up their bags, they're seeing you're amazing, keep going. Because I was always the person who would be so in my head going, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And things like that. So I think then as that developed, and obviously since the company closed, I went to go work for VHI and I hated it. I hated it with a passion. I couldn't tell you. I was like, it'll be fine. You're just chatting to people. Oh my gosh, I've never worked in a more stressful environment. And then I moved on and I was doing fundraising for Dogs Trust. And I love my dogs, but it was going door to door. And I just knew it wasn't for me. So we were fortunate enough that my fiance has a really good job that he could support us financially, and that I could take the time to figure out, okay, what is it that we're about to do, because I need to figure this out quickly. And so I literally just started, and I was like, okay, I need a name. What do I call it? And I knew it was going to be based around positivity mindset, because when everything was happening with the closure of the business and my dad getting unwell, and then at the same time, Kieran, who's my fiance, his dad got a terminal diagnosis, and everything was just happening at the one time. So my anxiety peaked and my depression peaked, and I was just miserable. I was like crying all the time and everything like that. But at the same time, I knew I had more to give. Like, I had this innate feeling I had more to give people, that if I can do it, they can do it, because I was always just that average girl, never got like the great grades or anything like that. But I remember all these like life lessons that my grandparents taught me. So I knew I wanted Lee, which is So LoveLee. That's why So LoveLee is spelled the way it is. It's because my grandparents were like second parents to me. Like, my parents are great and fantastic, but we always went into them before school. We were there after school. My parents worked and things. So I was like, I want to do something that honors them and inspires others, and use the messages that they taught us. And that's kind of then, as I started to build the idea and just started, I suppose I was dipping in and out of things of what I was just going to do mugs, and I was like, I'll just do mugs and put the quotes on them. And then I was like, no, I'm not really happy with that. And then that's when I came across the kind of like the business structure that I do is like it's print on demand. So I don't actually hold stock. I'm able to have a facility, like there's a facility who holds it. They have stock items, like say this jumper, I create the designs and then they ship it out. So it's only printed as an order comes in. So it was like, financially I was able to do it because I just lost my job. I'd quit 2 jobs because I was miserable in them. And I suppose that's kind of where it kind of all just came from. And eventually I had the courage, after having the website for a year done, designs done and everything for a year. I didn't promote it, didn't do anything with it. And then lockdown hit and I was like, everyone is just taking the leap of faith at this stage.
Yeah.
Because when COVID hit, everyone was just like, crap, what do we do now? And it kind of gave me the boost when like everyone else is doing it. So there's obviously a surge of support for people going out on their own. So I just finally felt confident enough to come out from the long grass and put myself out there a little bit. So I suppose that's kind of where So LoveLee kind of came about. Sorry.
No, like,
It's really,
congratulations.
yeah.
Like, you've overcome so much. Well done.
And it's also great to hear like the real backstory to the business. Like, I think people identify a lot more with a business if they really understand where it came from. And as you said, like something we've kind of noticed from other people we've had on is that there really has been a surge in kind of shopping small business, or supporting local and
Independence.
and a lot of people have taken that leap of faith this year, or last year to this year, and there's a lot of people that have really taken it as an opportunity to do something they've always wanted to do, and it's paying off. Like, people are getting support from everybody.
I have to say, I was so guilty of being that person who never thought to shop small. I never saw the person behind the business, because I wasn't the person behind a business who wanted people to buy from. When you're a small business, it's not like, big chain brands, like say online chain brands like Boohoo or Pretty Little Thing or anything like that they're getting sales every minute. You're like hoping one person comes across your website, comes across something that you've done, likes it enough to go and then use their money to buy it. So I only got that sense of community as well about small businesses like this time last year when I was launching it, because I thought you had to come out of the gate running. I thought you had to have everything figured out. And I think a lot of people saw that. I think a lot of people saw that, wow, people are really taking a leap. And I think because everyone was so affected by COVID, like it hit them in different ways, that I think people just wanted to support each other. I think they were more open to the idea, God, if we're in a global pandemic, anything is, who knows what could happen. So people were willing to be open about like, oh, that, Mary down the road is opening her own business. That's great. Let's go support her. Rather than it being like a gossip, like, you see what she's trying to do? And now this could be in my head. And again, that could be my anxiety talking. But that's just the vibe I got a lot of the time, going, you know, people were more judgmental and going, oh, are you sure you want to do that? Because I actually, on the side for a while, I was doing, I was working with MLMs. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
No.
The multi-level marketing. People call them pyramid schemes, but they're not.
Oh, yeah.
It's like companies who have products, and then you kind of can start your own little company. And it's actually whilst I was working with those, even though it wasn't for me long term, it's where it kind of kicked off my mindset. Like, I learned so much about mindset and the possibilities, that I'm so fortunate to have that. But when I was doing that, I initially started that, people would look at me like I had three heads, going, all right, yeah, don't come near me with any of your products or anything like that, you know. And I just had to respect that and be like, okay, they don't understand it, you know, that's not for them. But it can be so, you can get so disappointed. Like, it's so it's so draining sometimes when you can't get people behind you just to believe in you, for just, you know, to even just give you a chance. So I think there was a massive shift last year that people were willing to give, you know, the smaller, different types of making money and stuff.
I found that, like, with my own business, it's so hard. I mean, to put yourself out there, to get recognized or anything, but the small business community has been amazing, like, really supportive.
Like, amazing. Like, I was expecting it to be nearly cutthroat. Do you know what I mean? And the, like, girls from school who I haven't talked to in years, between school and college, have reached out and like, hey, they might have like they had a way bigger following than I had. They had started their own little things, and they were like, hey, if you ever need me to do anything, it's like, they were so supportive. I was so surprised. I was thinking people would, you know, look at me like I had three heads. But yeah, I have to say the small business community is amazing, and it seems to be like everyone understands we're all in the same boat, and we all just want to kind of uplift each other, you know?
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Sum up.
So if you were to sum up what you did in 5 words, or what you do in 5 words, what would those 5 words be?
Okay, can like "and" be a word in the 5 words?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. So I would say I inspire, motivate, and empower women. Boom.
Well done.
Nice.
I think you're the first person that's actually done it.
I was really struggling with that. When he sent me on just that question today, I was like, oh, what am I going to say? So I was there racking my brain for it.
It is a tough one, especially if you not done.
Can you describe yourselves in 5 words in what you do?
No idea.
No idea.
No, like creative, colourful.
Yeah. Aspiring writer.
I thought you said inspiring then. I was like, did you just call yourself inspiring?
Well, I might be. Aspiring.
Aspiring.
No, it's really tough.
Inspiring too.
Tough.
Oh, that's very kind. You don't have to be nice to me.
So I guess I was going to ask you what your brand message is, but that kind of says it all, really. Your 5 words kind of speak to that.
It really, like, my brand, the whole mission behind it is, I suppose, because I created out of such a dark place in my life. I really had hit like a breaking point, and I wanted to use that for something positive. Because, you know, when you're practicing all this mindset, they're like, turn your, you know, it's, you can take control again. You hold the power to your life, you know, so you can create happiness. And I was like, well, I actually could turn this around, because I can't be the only person in the world who's experiencing this like severe anxiety, that like where I can't leave the house, you know, and that I'm miserable and like I cry before I get up in the mornings and things like that, you know. So I was like, there has to be more. There's something I can do with this. So yeah, I want people really to believe, trust me, if I can start a small business, you can do anything. Like, anything is possible.
You're definitely not the only one. I mean, I suffer really badly with anxiety too. And that was one of the first things, like when I first saw your Instagram page, that's one of the first things that drew me to you, because like you have it in a description, like you started your business because of like your anxiety and everything, and I was like, wow, I'm looking at that now and like following it. Yeah.
It's so funny because I never knew until about 2 years ago that it was anxiety I had. I thought it was like I was just an emotional wreck. But like it's only now that, you know, that I reflect on the past and kind of past behaviors I have, and like I even like talk about it with my mum, because I used to be, when I was a kid and you go on sleepovers, I was that cousin who always went home from the sleepovers because I was like, I couldn't be without my mom. I'd freak out because I started like, the thoughts are so clear still to this day that I would like go off on a tangent in my head that like, well, if I'm not home and someone breaks into my house and kills my entire family, where do I go? Like, where do I sleep now? Like I'm talking like 7, 8 years old. This is what's going on in my mind. So mom was like, it's crazy because it's, as a child, you don't express those things. You don't express like, this is why I'm coming home. You just say, I want my mammy. Like, that's it, you know? Whereas since I've opened up and I've been so open about it, that, you know, I, you know, have anxiety, I am shocked, like shocked, the amount of women who have messaged me and said the same thing, that they suffer really bad with anxiety, whether, you know, they're getting natural methods to deal with it, if they're taking medication like myself to deal with it, if, you know, just the different routes about it. And even my closest friends, who like I would consider my best friends, like they've opened up to me, and I'm like, how did I not know this? How did I not know this was going on in your life? Like, because for me it was so, to me I felt like it was so obvious on the outside, because I just had that emotional, I can't hold it in anymore, and I didn't know how everybody else continued to hold it in. But yeah, it's so common. It's almost scary to think of that it's happening behind closed doors and no one's talking about it, I suppose. So
I suppose that's why it's so important, like, to talk about it, and that's why like your brand is so kind of you know, it's a really positive thing to have, because people are going to respond to it, because there are a lot of people going through this. There's a lot, and there's, you know, the last, you know, year and a half, I'd say that anxiety has definitely become more prominent than it was before.
Yeah, everyone's trapped inside, and
so it's
worrying
really
times and everything. Yeah, definitely.
Really important to make sure you express that and that you talk to people. Don't bottle it up.
people are more patient and maybe like compassionate to others if they are in a bit of a grumpy mood. And because I would have taken such offense to people who would just kind of fob me off or were grumpy to me, or I felt they were rude, I would go home and cry about it nearly. Like I would think about like, what did I do wrong? But now I realize like I have no idea what's gone on with that person in their life that they ended up being that way, you know? So
Yeah.
I like, that's why I want to spread a positive message, but I also want to like encourage people to choose kindness. If someone is horrible to you in a shop or cuts in front of you, as tough as it is sometimes, like take the kind approach, like take the approach, like let them do that. It's not going to kill me to wait 2 more minutes. You know, it's not going to kill me not to respond to maybe the passive aggressiveness, you know, instead of the, you know, sometimes you want to go, sorry, what did you say? You know, if someone's like rude to you in a shop or something, instead of that going, no, look, work away, you know.
And where do you get your inspiration for, say, new products that you're looking to bring out, new designs and stuff like that?
I suppose from other creators, like, to be completely honest, you know, it's like Hannah's artwork. So if I saw maybe colors she's used in her artwork, I'm like, dang, I really like that color. I want to try nearly mimic that color and put it onto a quote that I've seen. Or because there's so many quotes, you know, affirmational quotes all around us all the time, whether it be in books or just, you know, the quotes that you can share on Instagram or Pinterest and all that. So I think from, kind of just, you know, because you'd be scrolling on Instagram and Pinterest and things like that, and you come across things you really like. So I kind of, when something really just sparks inside of me, I go and I do my own creative twist with it. So that's kind of where my designs come from, really. If there's certain quotes I've just really connected with myself, or sometimes color just gives me like energy. Like there's certain colors that really just give me the vibes to just be creative. So sometimes I just sit down and I just I mightn't necessarily have an idea of what I want to create, but I just go with the flow and see what comes out.
Yeah, I agree with the colour thing, because like sometimes when I'm doing a painting and I'm just like, there's a blank canvas there and I'm like, oh, do you know, I don't know what to do yet. I'll just start by laying down different colours, like creating layers and things, and like that builds, and then you sort of see the bigger picture then.
Yeah.
What drew you to clothing, by the way?
I think because so in my mind, I always wanted to have this clothing line that appealed to everyone. It wasn't necessarily like jumpers, hoodies, t-shirts. That's just the beginning for me. I'm hoping, like, apart from So LoveLee, I'll have different brands to go along with this. But me and my sisters are all so different, shape-wise, size-wise. You know, I'm the runt of the litter, is what they always call me, you know. So I'm a lot more prone to like weight gain, weight loss, a bit curvier, whereas my sisters are like tall. You know, my little sister will be taller than me, but she has like a curvy figure, but she's super fit, whereas my eldest sister has like that athlete body. And so like my two other sisters could kind of share clothes most of the time, and I couldn't. And like my mom would always be like, oh, I wouldn't wear that. That doesn't suit you. You know, it suits, you know, whatever sister. And I'm like, this is so frustrating. Like, it's so hard to not buy the general clothes everybody else is buying. So I was like, why can't they create it to suit all shapes and sizes? So that's kind of a dream of mine, to have something that suits, like a brand that suits all sorts, which you're seeing more of. You're seeing more plus sizes, which I'm loving, and you're seeing more kind of for the curvy figure and shorter, like the petite sizes and things like that. But I always want to see my three sisters, like me with my two other sisters, and maybe my brother. I won't leave him out of it either. But just on a poster somewhere with a brand that we're like could be wearing something similar, but in all these different shapes and sizes, and that it all is like nice to look at. You know what I mean? So I think that's where I started with the clothing. Because initially I wanted bags and things. There's always something to do with fashion, but I just didn't know how to do it or where to get it. I still don't know how to get to that point, but this is my starting point. So I think this is for me,
You'll get there.
You will.
Yeah, it's a good starting point, I think. I don't know. We'll
Do you
see.
kind of take trends into account, or do you just kind of go with what you'd like to wear? Or
I do try take trends into account, but I think it's more like if I would wear, like, I wouldn't create something that I won't wear myself. So yeah, I suppose I'm more, you know, if I like it, would I wear that t-shirt? Would I wear that jumper? Yeah, I think it's more like, yeah, trends will go, and some trends you can jump on and some trends just don't suit everybody. So I suppose I lead more with my own.
Yeah, and a lot of trends don't stick around. They might stick around for a season and they're gone, and you know, your line will be continuous.
not change?
Yeah. So do you have a favourite item, or is there like an item you're most proud of, or an item that stands out in your head?
I think, to be honest, I don't think it's necessarily an item. I think it's like my brand as a whole. I'm so proud of it. I suppose, like, even go as far as say I'm just so proud of myself, and I would have never said that in the past, but I'm just so proud of how far I've come. You know, I remember starting off last year with like no followers on Instagram. No one knew who So LoveLee was this time last year. And I just kept saying to myself, look back in a year's time and look how far your brand has come. And I'm just so proud of the brand, you know, the message behind it, that it's a representation, a part of my grandparents, and that I can kind of continue on their legacy in a way. And yeah, like I created the website, the idea behind it, it's all from me, like, you know, so I'm just proud of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And how do you go about designing the different pieces? Like, is there a specific process you take, or do you just kind of go free?
I kind of have to brainstorm a lot of the time. I'm like a person who loves to put pen to paper first and really figure out what is it that I want to do, what's kind of the message I want to get out, or, you know, what affirmation am I using lately, or what have I read, things like that. And then I'll put that into a design. So, you know, it just depends then on the color and things like that. And a lot of it is a lot of back and forth. So it's a lot of like, you know, trying to picture it on the garment, trying to see what it looks like. Do I like the way it's laid out? If not, and like, I'm not a graphic designer myself, so I use the bog standard tools and I just go with the flow. And then over time, the more I look at things, I just keep making those little changes. And then just recently, I brought in a graphic designer who's helping me. So, you know, but they all cost money. So I can only do so many designs at a time. So I'll literally give them my design. I'm like, just make it better, make it more professional. And then they'll come back and I'm able to work with them. So I'm able to be like, oh, I don't like this color. I don't like the placement. Let's just switch it up. And so at the moment, my process is actually changing, I suppose, because I'm giving them my designs and I'm saying, make it better. They'll come back to me with their version of it. And then it's kind of like a mix between the two. So it's like almost like a collaboration between the two, then that come together. So
What would you do?
If you weren't doing what you do, what would you do? So if you weren't doing the clothing, or So LoveLee, what would you be doing?
I think, you see, initially when I was growing up, I always thought I wanted, like in primary school, I thought I was going to be a teacher. And because I was like, oh, the summer holidays. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, I want to be my own boss. That's where then all those, you know, secondary school, I was kind of like, I want to be my own boss. But I think if I wasn't doing So LoveLee, I'd be doing something else that I created. I can't see myself ever going back working for someone else, because just what I realized about both is I remember looking up at my dad and going, oh, I wish I could be my own boss. And it wasn't necessarily like earning money or anything like that. I'm not motivated by money. I'm actually motivated by time. And I'm in control of my time. I just, like, even when I wanted to be a teacher, like, I thought I'd be good at, like, you know, teaching children and, you know, giving them the education and things like that. I would do it in a fun way and use my creative side that way for teaching. But it was, what I was mostly drawn to was like the 3 months holidays, the 2 months holidays that they got. And again, that's just based around time. It's that they had those months to go do what they wanted. They weren't turning up every morning at 9 o'clock to go teach class. They could go and do what they wanted. So I think when it comes to, you know, what would I do if I wasn't doing So LoveLee, I definitely would be working for myself. I just don't know on what.
What do you think then is the best thing about running your own business or being your own boss?
For me, I'm able to use my creativity the way I want to. I found that, say when I worked in the family business, I had to run things past 10 people before I got the go ahead, before I got the sign off. And I was so reliant on other people. So I think having that control, that creative control, is amazing. You know, it's down to me what I put out. But I also, again, it comes down to, I have so much control of my own time that, you know, there's so much flexibility. Now, in saying that, you think you have all this time in the world, you really don't, because you only have so many hours in the day. But if there was a day I need to take off to maybe go, you know, help my mum with something, or I have to go mind my sister's kids or something at the drop of a hat or collect them from school, I can do that. I'm, you know, or if I want to go on holidays, and not that anyone's going anywhere at the moment, but if I wanted to go on a holiday, I don't have to go see when Mary's taken her 2 weeks to make sure we're not clashing, you know. So it comes down to time, and I think creative control are the two things I really, really like best about being my own boss.
What's the hardest thing about owning your own business?
In this stage right now, I think it could be just like the loneliness of it, because it's just me who's doing everything. And I've no one to bounce ideas off of. Yeah, my sisters are there, but, you know, they have their own jobs and things like that. It's being able to sit down with someone in like a creative meeting, go, hey, this is an idea. And then you have that back and forth. And that idea turns into something, you know, amazing. And you come up with the plan of action together. And whereas when it's all you, it's a longer process, I suppose, because there's so much I have to learn, so much I'm trying to figure out, while still creating that creating something, and you're just trying to figure everything out. Whereas if there was like, sometimes I feel if there was 2 or 3 of you, you get through those little jobs so much quicker, and you won't be put so much on the long finger, you know?
Do you think that in the future then you can see yourself having a team around you doing bits and pieces?
Definitely would have a small team. I can't see myself yet anyway having a massive team of people. I definitely would love to get in, like, a few creative minds, or specialists in certain areas. Like you were saying, the financial side of things.
Yeah, I'd love an admin as well. I'd love an admin. Like, at the moment I'm trying to do my website and a new collection, and it's just a lot for one person.
It is an awful lot.
So
For me, like, I love just the creative part. Like, that's where I love to spend so much time in, like, generating new ideas. And then I just need someone to come in and be like, who's like a specialist in, like, sourcing suppliers, sourcing products, and because all of that, you have to try get samples, you're paying for samples, you're either saying you like them or you don't. Just all those things I have to learn as I go, but in the long run it'll stand for me, I know that. But yeah, I wouldn't mind maybe a little team one day.
Oh, I totally get that.
That would be nice.
I'd love a PA actually, because I'm just thinking that they could do a little bit of admin for me and then also kind of give me a kick up the bum to be like, you need to get on with this now.
That's what your son's for.
Yeah, true. Oh dear. Are you working on anything new at the moment?
I have a couple of things I'm trying to work on. If I don't keep putting them on the long finger, because I'm moving house as well.
Oh my gosh, you've got it all going.
Oh my gosh, unbelievable. We just bought like our first home.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So it's a lot right now. I'm actually collabing with a small business that we both know. I'll tell you after the podcast who it is.
Okay.
So, yeah, I have some new products. I won't say exactly what they are, but they are, again, positive mental health. Just that little reminder that you might need to persevere, to keep going. And then something that I was hoping to bring out this year, but it'll probably be next year, is probably an affirmational planner. So kind of goal setting, daily planning, and kind of really setting out those action steps, and maybe just some tips and tricks I've learned that's kind of got me on a good path that hopefully it might help someone else. So hopefully
that sharing and stuff would be really beneficial.
Yeah, definitely.
Highs and lows.
So over the course of your business so far then, what has been your biggest high and then your biggest learning curve?
my biggest high is, apart from getting that first sale where you do your little happy dance.
Oh yeah, I do a happy dance at every sale.
Yeah, same. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You wake up and you have like that Shopify notification. I'm like, oh my god, someone got something on my website during the night. What just happened? But I think my biggest high has to be the people reaching out to me in my DMs who are saying, you know, that they are so inspired by what I've done and how I'm so open with my own struggles, that it's helped them. You know, so many people, just, you know, friends, people who I know, yes, they've done it as well, but even just random people who are like, thank you so much for, like, you know, sharing this, or having a brand that does this, or even just saying that you have anxiety. I've been struggling with it for years. It's so good to hear that someone else is able to do what you're doing, because it gives them hope that they can then one day do it as well. And I'm like, yes, queen, yes, you can, go and do it. But yeah, I think that's such, every time I get a message on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, I just get so elated. I'm so happy that I have turned, like, it just, that thing about turning my negative experience into something positive and helping others is actually doing it. I always said, if I can help one person get through what I went through, I'm doing something right. So I have to say that's my biggest high. In terms of, like, things that I've learned is not to be so afraid of failure. And I know that's so cliche and it's so cheesy to say, but my anxiety stems from being a failure. You know, I don't want to be a failure, but my biggest learning curve is, like, you know, hope that you do fail, because your biggest successes will genuinely come from what you learn during your failed attempts. Like I have changed the website so many times until I was happy with it. And, there's certain parts of the service that I provide behind the scenes, and like there's so many stumbling blocks and challenges that you come up against, and it can be so daunting and overwhelming that you won't continue, or that you won't just push through to overcome them. That I've just learned that even if I make a complete fool of myself, just do it. Just do it, because you'll look back and you've learned so much, and you'll eventually get that success. So I think that's the biggest learning curve. It's just, don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid to fall. And if you do fall forward. So
This is very true.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, where can they find you and your products?
So you can find me either on my personal page on Instagram or my business page. So my personal page is just laura.lanigan.sll, and then it's So LoveLee_brand on Instagram. And then the website is www.solovlee.ie, but lovely spelled LOVELEE. So that's where you can find me and my products.
Awesome. So in the last year, I suppose we've seen a huge increase in like shopping locally, to kind of shop Irish movement. So do you think that people's shopping habits have really changed, and have you noticed an effect on your sales, the way things have gone for you?
Yeah, I have. I think people are more aware of small Irish businesses, because like I said before, I was one myself. I never really thought, it wasn't something I considered when shopping at Christmas or for birthdays or anything like that. I never thought to look up on Instagram, to look up gift ideas or anything. So I see a massive change that way, because there's such a push for it, and you can see a lot of influencers pushing it as well, which has been fantastic. I think it has positively affected my business, because initially when I launched, I got a lot of comments saying how dear my products were. But as the year has gone on, I think people have started to realize when you're a small business, you can't get anything cheap. Nothing is for free. And that you have to make money too. The COVID, with people being out of work and trying to do other side jobs, they realize that, small businesses have to earn money too. And I think it's helped my audience realize, oh, her products are worth the money, because she's putting all this work behind it, and they're actually good products. So I think it's helped in that aspect.
Yeah, what people don't understand about the differences between a small business and a big business as well is that big businesses buy in bulk. And when they buy in bulk, it means that everything works, that the cost is cheaper, and then they charge, plus a certain amount, and it still works out cheaper across the board. Whereas small businesses either make it themselves or they buy it, and when they buy it in smaller bulk, which means the cost is more, and then the customer has to pay more. So, and then small business competing against those larger businesses that are able to buy bigger. And then not only that, but the larger businesses that say are online, they also bulk postage. So they might have a deal with a courier service or something, whereas small businesses have to pay each time courier service, and it's not as cheap as people think it is. You also have to pay, for packaging, everything. So I feel like, I think people are starting to understand it more, but you have to think about that when you're looking to support a small business.
Yeah.
100%. It definitely, my business, it definitely is a different model of business than your average, hold stock and post it out or send it out. Like I was saying earlier, that my stuff is actually held in another warehouse. I don't see that product. You'll see that product. I won't see it. Yes, well, I have my own samples and versions of it. Absolutely. I have to see to make sure it's good quality when it comes out to print and things like that. But, I think and that means it takes longer delivery times. Like you were saying, like free shipping isn't an option.
No.
Because you have to pay for postage. yeah, I think they're more understanding. I think it's made the customer more understanding that like, oh, it's worth the 2 weeks it might take, or things like that. So, and it's worth the shipping costs, because yeah, like you were saying, they do bulk shipping, they bulk buy, they have it in stock, they can ship it out and get it to you the next day. Because I actually bought So Sumi stuff there the other day, and I got it, like literally bought it at 3 p.m. thinking, oh, I'll get that someday next week. And then I got literally the next morning, and I was like, what the heck? Like,
Great.
did they send it did they special send it just to me that they wanted to get it to me that quickly?
Crazy.
Like, what's going on? But I think, I've been shopping with small business. I'm more conscious to shop with small businesses as well. And I'm definitely, before I probably would have like chased up on certain things. Whereas now I'm like, no, they're in the process of getting it out. I have to give them a chance. It's not the same.
And also if you're shopping, say shop Irish, but because we're in Ireland, but I mean any country, if you're in the UK and you shop from a UK small business, you're putting money back into your own economy. You're putting money back into your country's own pocket to get jobs for, the postman, or, a UK packaging company or an Irish packaging company. It's all going back into your own economy. Whereas if you shop from, say,
global
brand or a fast fashion brand or whatever, and like I do shop fast fashion as well, I'm not saying I don't, it's just an example, they're putting money back elsewhere.
Yeah, and I actually shared on my stories there today that I shopped with a local, not a local, UK brand that I just randomly again came across on a small business, came across her on Instagram, gave her a follow. She posted it's actually these earrings. I don't know if you can see them, you probably can't, but I got them and I posted them. I told her I'd do a little story post because I thought they were gorgeous, and really reasonable as well. And she was like, oh my God, you're my first Irish customer. I was like, no way. So like, when she was like, I actually don't know how much postage will be. I've never shipped to Ireland. Whereas I understood that. I was like, I totally get that. I hadn't a clue what was going on with Brexit. And people are asking me like, are there custom fees and things like that? But she just messaged me and said, after my putting up my story, she was like, I just got my second order for Ireland. And she was like, someone must have seen it on the stories. And I was like, that's so great. You're just helping. It mightn't be necessarily Irish, but I'm still helping out another small business owner, which I think is really awesome. Like, it's just helping people achieve their goals, their dreams and things like that. And it's so rewarding,
Share the spotlight.
Is there any other small businesses or fashion kind of brands that, that you want to give a shout out to? Or
there's another Kilkenny girl, actually, I'll give a shout out to, because I think she's amazing. I think she has a range of her own bags that she recently released, and they're fabulous. But it's Nikki Hoyne from Nikki Hoyne Collection.
I love Nikki. She's great.
Oh, she's so inspiring. Like, she's so uplifting every time she gets on for the chats, and her content is always about learning, growing, and she shares like books that she's read, and and she there before Christmas she was sharing tips and tricks. Maybe she shared them before that. I just picked them up for Christmas, I don't know. But she has like IGTV where she did like tips and tricks for small businesses and how to get started and get your website up and things like that. So she's so versed in the area. She's brilliant to follow. You always pick up something from her. So definitely give her a shout out, because she's one of my inspirations. Like, and I suppose another one would be Tara from the Feel Good Company. When I saw that she launched her brand a couple of years ago, but when I saw that it was possible to launch something based around, mental health and things like that, that definitely was an inspiration for me. So again, another fantastic small business to go shop with as well.
Cool.
Okay, so what advice would you give to anyone else then that's looking to start their own business or their own clothing range?
The best advice I personally could give is don't be afraid of failure and don't let it hold you back. If you think you're going to make a total mess of things, go and do it, because all you're going to do is learn from it. All you're going to do is improve from it. You're going to grow from your mistakes. And if you're not making mistakes, then you're not growing. Like, you're not learning, you're not bettering yourself. Success doesn't come overnight. success is years of work put into something. And yes, does it happen quicker for someone else? Probably, yeah. But if you feel like you're on the long road to success, be grateful you're on that road, because you're going to learn so much. You're going to learn so much, and you're going to come across amazing people, and you'll find there's a really good little supportive community behind it as well that you can lean on and things like that. And just be daring, just go for it, because I hid in the grass for a year with my website ready to go and I did nothing with it. So, I could be 2 years into this, but I'm only 1 year, but better now than never,
Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. It was lovely to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. I'm honoured that you even wanted to talk to me.
It was great. No, it's really,
really
nice
nice.
to hear the story behind everything, and such a positive message as well. It's really important.
Thank you for listening to the I-Endeavour podcast.
Join us next week for another episode. You can find us on YouTube or your favourite podcasting app, or on Instagram.
And if you're a creator or a small business that would like to take part in Series 2, email podcast@idyllicendeavour.com.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to make sure you see all future episodes.